since January 7th, 2021, the decision that Kevin McCarthy made, the decision that Elise Stefanik made, the decision that one Republican after another has made, the fact that Mike Pence was dead on arrival because the one courageous thing that he did became the unforgivable sin. So just talk about it, because I think that even the Ron DeSantis of the world are kind of looking around going, are you kidding me? After January 6th, after all of the indictments, the guy is still dominant in this party. He is still the apex predator. I mean, how amazing is this?
Yeah, it is amazing. And I think, look, it's amazing because I know these people.
Yeah.
You know, let's take Mitch McConnell, who I think in his heart is a decent guy. I think he means well. He's a tactician. And I think he thought, boy, the best thing I can do is not remove Donald Trump because he's gone anyway.
He's
I
dead
can
anyway.
preserve my majority. He's dead anyway. You know, but he's the reason that Donald Trump didn't get removed, right? It's all these decisions that were made. The person that surprised me the most, Charlie, is still Kevin McCarthy, because I knew Kevin as, I mean, his big thing was he wanted to put the Republican Party on the map for climate change. He wanted the Republican Party to be the party of Silicon Valley. Like he had all these like kind of, you know, progressive politically, not actually progressive, but progressive politically ideas. And then he sold it all out for Trump. And the biggest surprise, of course, was when he showed up to Mar-a-Lago and resurrected him. And I think, yeah, like on the Ron DeSantis side, when he started running, I think he said, I'm going to beat Donald Trump because Donald Trump's going to be gone, but I can maintain that thing people love about him. But he doesn't go away. And part of the reason, Charlie, is because the second tier influencers, which is everybody that's on the stage running for president of the United States, is who people also look to for opinions. And when every one of them, including Mike Pence, by the way, says that this is a witch hunt against Donald Trump and the DOJ is a two-tier justice system of justice, with the exception of Chris Christie saying that, there's no doubt people are going to believe it then, because everybody else they trust is saying the same thing Trump is.
So this book begins, you open the book in the introduction with the fiasco of Kevin McCarthy's rise to the speakership, the fact that it took the 15 votes, the fact that he had to make these compromises with all of the crazies. And between the time you wrote that and now, of course, we've seen the spectacular fall of Kevin McCarthy, which in so many ways was foreordained, right? I mean, it was predictable from the weakness. So let's just talk about that. You watched Kevin McCarthy make those compromises, decide to go down and kiss the ring at Mar-a-Lago because he thought that was going to save him, that was going to give him the majority, and here we are today. How do we get here?
Yeah, here we are today. And by the way, had Kevin not done that, and had he actually pushed back against Trump and had like Pence led the charge against Trump, we'd be in a much different place. But yeah, I mean, that's just that moment we're in, where it's like, okay, everything is confused, everybody's lost, everybody's where they are. And actually, I just kind of totally forgot what I was saying. What was your point again?
No. I mean, so how did we get here? You know, with Kevin McCarthy, I mean, we've gone from what we thought was the dysfunction of the 15 ballots for Kevin McCarthy, and now we have the fifth string speaker, who you've described as Jim Jordan in drag, who is clearly still Matt Gates's right? But I mean, a full-throated election denier, somebody, I mean, you sat on the January 6th committee. Here is somebody who was right front and center in Donald Trump's attempts to overthrow the election. So we thought things were bad and the Kevin McCarthy was weak. And now we've gone to the fifth string Mike Johnson. How did we get here?
Well, so like, let's take who's the most powerful person in a room? So let's say you put 10 of us in a room, everybody has a hand grenade. Okay. Yeah. We're all equally powerful. If one person is willing to pull the pin and drop the grenade, they're the most powerful person in the room, right? It doesn't matter how tall you are. It doesn't matter how much political power you have. And that's what we have enabled in the Republican Party for a long time. If you see the stuff that we saw with this battle for speaker, none of it was new. None of the dynamics were new. There were always kind of we'll call them the moderates. They're not moderate, but they're moderate in tone. The moderates, there was always the crazy caucus, and then the kind of 80% that just wanted to just survive. That's always existed. The difference is now it was put out in public. When Kevin had to cut, because he had such a narrow majority, he had to cut all those things. He basically got in a room with everybody that pulled the pin on a grenade. And they all had different goals. Yeah. And he said, okay, if you put the pins back, whatever. And then, so his political death was inevitable. Then the fact that we got to a point where the only way you would be a even viable candidate for speaker was to deny the election. And
Right.
that was split screen on the news with Jenna Ellis tearfully speaking the fact that she lied to the
Right.
American people about the very same thing. The fact that there were like 4 people that have already taken plea agreements. The fact that everybody knows Donald Trump is guilty. But yet the only thing that could qualify you for speaker to start is
Right.
that you basically were contradicting what these people were confessing to.
Right.
That's the moment we're in. So Mike Johnson, and this is like, I think I kind of predicted this when his name was floated, but I'm not positive. I said, look, I was very impressed the moderates pushed back against Jordan because I thought they would capitulate.
Right.
They held,
Yeah.
but I knew they
For
couldn't
5
do it
minutes.
twice.
Yeah.
They held for 5 minutes. You
Yeah.
couldn't do it twice. Mike Johnson, by the way, I remember, I didn't know him well, but I remember him coming up to me trying to get me to sign on to this lawsuit, for Texas. And I'm just like, Mike.
The totally bogus Texas lawsuit that would have thrown out
Totally.
all of the votes of everybody in Wisconsin, for example. Yeah, I mean,
Yep. And by the way, a little known fact about that, Kevin McCarthy and Liz Cheney had a conversation, and Liz is like, Kevin, you're not signing that, right? And he's like, oh, of course not, Liz. That's crazy.
yeah.
The next day,
And he
the
did.
list comes out. Kevin's not on it. And he puts out a press release that says, I was inadvertently left off. That's the kind of courage Kevin McCarthy had, by the way.
Yeah, those. I am their leader. Those are my people. I need to. I need to go after them. So, yeah. So Mike Johnson's one of his first things that he's doing is, and I want to get back to the bigger picture, but I know you had some thoughts on this. So, the question of what kind of a speaker he would be. He's made it clear that he will, not vote on Ukraine aid and the Israel aid package. He's decoupling those two aid packages, but he's also playing this stupid game now with the Israel aid package, at least this morning, saying that he wants to offset the cost by slashing IRS enforcement, which would actually increase the deficit. What did you think about that?
Well, so first off, on just the splitting the aid, it's dumb. And I think Mike is trying to figure out how to lead now at the same time, because he's kind of given multiple feelings on this. But on the Israel stuff, he's actually tactically, I think this is dumb, just tactically, because it's going to give an excuse for the Senate to vote no. And I would have voted no on this package, by the way. They'll vote no, and now they'll be able to jam the House with multiple, what frankly needs to be done, which is Ukraine and Israel. And this is par for the course. It actually does surprise me, though, a little bit, because I would have thought that they would have done at least Israel aid without any offsets. Right. The fact that they're offsetting with the IRS, what it goes to show, Charlie, is how unserious they are. Because why? It's the IRS, of course, because you can go on Fox News and attack the IRS.
It's a great
That's why
talking
they're
point.
using the IRS.
Yeah, but I mean, and I wrote about this in my newsletter. The unseriousness is that it's a great talking point for the base, but it doesn't actually offset the cost. They picked the one spending cut that will actually blow up the deficit by $30 billion.